Hello everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. Today we're going to be looking at a piece by Mitchell Flout. He's an artist that has been showcased about 3 times before in the gallery, and we're going to take a look at his piece a little bit deeper today. Alright, so we're here at the whiteboard. I brought my notes up here with me, including the description of the piece that was included, and then also some direct messages that I spoke with the artist about his craft. So I wanted to kind of include everything in here today and really get a sense of what this piece has to offer and what, more importantly, his broader genre has to offer in his work. So the first thing I'm noticing, I just wanted to say this is a really pretty piece. You see this blue mixed with this pinkish purple and all these varying color values, which adds a lot of diversity of color, but still within this kind of main set of purplish, pink, blue, green. So there is kind of a main set there, but it's also important to note the vast difference in color value from, say, here to here to here and across the whole piece itself. Even on the back we see kind of like a little borderline maroonish there. So the first thing I wanted to note is obviously we see this contrast here, right? We see the contrast created by the form of this titanous kind of this very large, I guess we can call it an architectural design, some type of, maybe even a temple. It's hard to say exactly what this is, but we can theorize on that just a little bit. Maybe that looks a little better. Yep. So that marks the contrast that we see there. That does emphasize it and brings it forward. There's also these kind of displayed bits of depth here. As you can see, this feels like it is farther within, not only because of its placement, but also because of those darker tones in there. That creates a bit of depth and really conveys the illusion of a three-dimensional surface there. That can also be seen very small. About right here, right there. There's like these little pockets, and it seems like they're hollow and they go in and through. So that's important to note. It gives this piece a really unique feeling, and it's kind of hard to describe, right? So another thing I'd like to mention on this piece is the form. We have a very rectangular prismatic form whenever we're talking about the silhouette, but it's also consisting of much more complex shapes. There's kind of like a shell there as well. Note these little dots here. We can see near symmetry there, split across this axis, but it's also slanted. So that gives a really unique feeling there. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12 dots there on the front. And they're, of course, reflected across that center axis to create an experience of near symmetry right in front of us there. So this background here has a lot of flowing qualities. Of course, it looks like kind of paint mixing or oil mixing. It's very psychedelic in that quality as it morphs, it breathes, and it flows across, almost like the piece is melting in before us. This may also be considered in areas like this. It could be even melting off its form. But I lean more towards kind of a crazy technologically advanced machine here, because these are symmetrical. So let's compare the texturing on the main form of the subject here with these broader textures on the background. So if we're looking at this, it's very sharp, sleek, and smooth, almost like it's almost like a shell or a piece of armor across it. And it's symmetrical in that quality as well. So there's something much more going on here. Yet we compare that to the background. The background has no set form. It flows. It's not symmetrical. It just kind of, it goes wherever it wants to, and it just flies across the spatial composition. So that also creates a bit of emphasis, because due to the difference of the main form here compared to kind of this flowing, chaotic background, that also emphasizes this massive purple subject in front of us here. So I'm going to take a look at the quote real quick. So this quote was included with the original description on the piece that he uploaded to Instagram. And so, about the one who believes in others. While others may not be entirely sincere, sincerity will reside in him alone. About the one who doubts others. While others may not be wholly fraudulent, fraud will decide him from the first. So what I see from this is the person who believes in others. Other people may not believe in you, but at least you're the person who holds that belief as an individual. But if you're the one that doubts others, then everyone else could also doubt you. And even within your own heart, you're also doubting as well. So it's much better to have this sense of sincerity in yourself, even if everyone else doesn't have it. Because compared to having doubt, that's a snowball that you do not want to get rolling. So this is a little description about the kind of the medium of generative or fractal art that we're working in here. So we see he works on a program called MB3D, and it's a direct portal interface for exploring realms where imaginary are in union, a coincidentia oppositorum. So we can think of that as the Fractalscape is something that is really fluid. It doesn't really have any set form, and it creates something new out of that. So he's working within kind of like a three-dimensional fractal scape, or a three-dimensional world of fractals, which morphs and changes constantly. Kind of like in some of the early pieces, we explored bits of surrealism here, so it's also important to bring that in here. Surrealism can be based on early like Rorschach plots, which are essentially you would stare at the blot in psychology, and whatever you see is believed to be kind of like a manifestation of your unconscious. So it's a very, very Freudian idea there, and because that bubbles up, let's say whatever you see here, that could be an indicator of something that you may not know about yourself, and it's actually reflecting itself in the piece before you. I think that also has a lot of similarities with AI art, for example, so that's also important to look at. So this was the direct message I was talking to him, just a little bit deeper about the medium in which he works in. So this was what he said. Fractals are strange creatures that evade coherent descriptions, especially aesthetic descriptions. A significant aspect of their being will have to remain unspeakable. Even to consider their foundations is tricky. They are based on complex number systems which pair a real number axis with an imaginary number axis. Imaginary being a technical mathematical term. So, as he said here, it's hard to describe this in concrete. Of course, at Apollo Art Exchange, we always try to describe these in concrete words, but when it comes to something like a Fractalscape or any bits of surrealism in general, it's really hard to pin that down. And don't blame yourself if you can kind of misstep or see something different, because surrealism is really, really, really subjective. So a significant aspect of their being will have to remain unspeakable, like that, because I pull my hair out sometimes just trying to explain a piece, but sometimes you have to take a step back and just have a bit of humility and say, okay, I can't explain that piece, and it has to remain unspeakable. Maybe I'll have the words to articulate that, but for now day. So I think that's really, really important to note. I also wanted to say, so he made his premiere debut in the Apollo Archive on the 13th of May in the year 2021 with his generative piece entitled Pyramidal. Pieces from this artist can be viewed across a multitude of gallery rooms, including Psychedelic, virtual influences, and literature art sections. So he is a really, really, really early here. I believe one of the first 50 artists we ever showcased quite easily. And honestly, some of his pieces are some of my favorites. Also, some of our most popular. I think he has the fourth. It actually is Pyramidal. I believe it's the fourth most liked piece in the entire gallery, so that's also important to note. So this piece will be going live here in the next few hours or so, and I hope you guys enjoy. Read a bit deeper on the piece and let me know what you think of it. We'll see y'all next time. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.